Hello, contractors, and welcome to Toolbox for the Trades. My name is Jackie Aubel, and today I am chatting with the VP of Client Solutions at CallPoint, Ralph Johnson. Ralph and I spoke about how to revamp a call center, from implementing technology to performance pay to coaching and so much more. We covered so much here. I hope you guys enjoy our conversation as much as I did. Ralph Johnson, you were the VP of Client Solutions at CallPoint Contact Center Solutions. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can revamp a call center. I'm so excited to chat with you today, Ralph. Welcome to Toolbox for the Trades.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here. Actually, I've been a long-term listener, first time on the podcast, so I'm really excited. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, of course. So excited to have you here. And thanks so much for listening to the show. It really means a lot to me. Let's kick this off with an icebreaker. I would love to know, if you could meet any living person for dinner, who would it be and why?
Well, that's a great question. I'm a big fan of Mark Cuban. The answer unequivocally would have to be Mark Cuban. Not just because he's the billionaire owner of the Mavs, of course, and that he sold his company for billions of dollars, and he's on a TV show called Shark Tank, or that he created a pharmacy called Cost Plus. The main reason is that he really taught me some basic concepts of life in which I live by, and I still live by those concepts to this day, essentially. And it's pretty simple. He talks a lot about how one of the worst advice you can give anyone is to follow your passion. All right. And that has always resonated with me for some reason. He said, do not tell people to follow your passion. It's the worst advice ever. He basically said a better approach in life would be it's important for you to follow your efforts. No one quits at anything they're good at, he talks about. I think in my life, if I followed my passion, it'd be trying to play professional basketball or trying to play professional soccer, in which I wasn't good at any of those things at all. So sports is a passion for a lot of people, but because when you look at it, when you put in the effort in a lot of things, he talks about there lends to be things that you're good at. So his approach is focus on things that you can put your effort into and you get better success. In that concept, I've lived my life by it, and I've ran businesses by that approach. So it would have to be Mark Cuban by far.
That's such a great answer and really well thought out, and I've never heard that before. Don't follow your passion, follow your efforts. I think another saying that we hear a lot is, if you love something you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I
Yeah,
know, that's something my dad told me, but it's like, I don't know, does anyone really love what they do for work? I don't know. It's kind
yeah,
of it's definitely something to think about.
yeah. And passions change too. You know what I'm saying? And not everyone has the privilege of following their passion. You know what I'm saying? There's some people that they just
Sure.
can't do that. So that's why I believe in, follow your effort. I believe you get much over ROI in following your effort. And that's one of the things that he talks about a lot. So big on Mark
Amazing.
Cuban. I think he's a great guy. So,
Very, very cool. All right, well, let's get into it. How did you get into the trades?
oh, great question. So in 2012, I was in my late 20s and I worked at Wells Fargo. I'd been there for about 4 or 5 years as an analyst. Wells Fargo was known for what they call gladiator school, and big sales programs for all their analysts. And actually, at that time, they were in the news for a lot of unethical practices. But they laid me off in 2012. I went to Costa Rica and I said, you know what, I'm just going to learn Spanish and just hang out on the beach for a little bit. My savings ran out, and unemployment ran out. So I had to come back to America. But I did come back learning Spanish, which was great. All right. So that helped out pretty great. But in 2012, basically, I met a man named Matt George, and he eventually became my mentor and the current owner of CallPoint, the company which I work right now. He basically had a vision of creating a centralized inbound call center and focusing on the three trades only, and that's only plumbing, electrical, and HVAC. And basically, his idea was to basically be a centralized call center for individual separate contractors throughout the country, with an emphasis on performance booking, customer service, and the latest technology in call centers. So that year really got me to the trades. It changed my whole idea. I wanted to get out of Wells Fargo because really, and being in finance, it was grueling, it was stressful, and it was a lot. And I felt at the time in 2012, it was just not the best position for me to be in. Someone told me the trades actually is recession proof. Everyone's going to need to get their bathroom repaired or shower repaired. Everyone's gonna need an HVAC. I live in Arizona. Everyone's gonna need a unit. So I thought, well, this is a safe way. Let's go to the trades, and that's how I got into it essentially.
Amazing. Okay, so I know that Matt George originally took you on to his first company that was the kind of the first iteration of CallPoint that he eventually sold. And
Yes,
then you ended up consulting for a plumbing and HVAC company for 5 years and you grew the company from 8 million to 18 million in 5 years.
yes.
So I would love to know what you discovered about the call center there and how you improved it.
So coming from the call center, working with Matt George, coming from 500 agents, and then actually consulting. I started my consulting business because at that time, direct interview was sold, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do some consulting. I met a small local company in Phoenix, mom and pop shop, 50 employees. They're so antiquated. A lot of technology wasn't there at all. I was just shocked how they ran things. So they had those Panasonic phones, their CSRs were answering phones just like that. And I'm like, man, this is in 2018, right? So this isn't that too long ago. So I was just shocked the way they did things. One of the first things that I did that I felt that they lacked was technology was one of them, organizational skills, and most importantly, a culture of accountability and numbers. That was the biggest things I
Mm.
learned from Matt George. And those are the key things in really trying to build a successful organization to help grow and scale it. And that's what I knew what to do. And I wanted to put what I've learned in the last 5 years being the trades to see if I can actually turn this company around. And that was one of the three things I discovered when I got there.
Awesome. All right. So I just want to do a little recap of your journey right now for anyone who needs just a refresher here. So you were working with Wells Fargo as an analyst up until 2012. You took a little Costa Rica break, which by the way, I love Costa Rica. I've been twice and I
Beautiful.
cannot wait to go back.
Yes.
And then you worked with Matt George, at his first company that, was also a centralized call center,
Yes.
and you got up to 500 agents,
Yes.
sold to Direct Energy,
Uh-huh.
and then you started your consulting business.
Yes.
So you go into this mom and pop shop and you're like, "Oh my goodness, they are using Panasonic phones.
Yes.
We have to get these people into the new millennium."
Yes.
So what steps did you take to implement that technology? Tell me what that actually looked like.
Yeah, great question. So I'd heard about this company around 2018 called ServiceTitan, right? And I'm one of those self-taught people, and I literally learn everything I can about ServiceTitan. It's CRMs. There's a couple of Successware. There's Sarah, all these different CRMs. I heard about all the great things ServiceTitan was doing. I said, listen, we got to get ServiceTitan. One of the most important things, because some of the things I wanted to do as far as getting voice over IP phone, internet phone, if they call it, be able to look at performance dashboard, marketing reports, ROI reports, and then basically, as simple as implementing an IVR. If you know what an IVR is basically commonly known as the interactive voice response. The best way to describe it, an IVR basically says, it's quite simple. Thanks for calling this AC company. Do you want to book an appointment? Do you want to schedule an appointment? Press one. Press two if you want to speak with someone in accounting. Press three if you want to apply for a job, whatever that may be. Implementing that was huge because now you got a chance to actually have the CSRs focus on actually booking calls and not taking calls from applicants or the staff customer that just had a bad experience with a technician, all those things. We had to go ahead and kind of segment that to make sure we're getting the right calls and booking the right calls. So technology was the biggest thing. Like I said, we ended up even having Phones Pro, voice over IP internet Phones Pro, which at the time was so crucial was because that's when COVID started after I was there for a little bit. Had we not had Phones Pro or ServiceTitan, it would have been the company would have sold it. All right. So that's one that I didn't predict COVID was gonna happen. I knew that they're so behind in technology that we need to make adjustments, and thank God we did. Because not even a year later, COVID happened, and that allowed our agents to actually go work from home. After 4 months, they said, "Hey, we want to bring you on. We like your ideas. All right, let's help scale this company. Will you come on full time with us? And are you okay with letting go of your consulting firm?" All right. I thought it was a great fit. I thought it was a great opportunity, and it came on board full time 4 months later. So that was really exciting. But
Amazing. Amazing. I like that you went into details about the IVR because I haven't thought of that before, but if you don't have that type of system, you're turning your CSRs into secretaries, not just CSRs, and that
yes,
can be really frustrating.
very frustrating. 50% of calls coming in are non-bookable calls, right? In that instance, right? it's hard, and a lot of companies
Is that a global stat that you're able
it's
to, like, back up given
yes,
your
I can
experience at
tell you
CallPoint?
I can tell you 50% of calls, yes, are just it's not bookable at all. Yeah, it's a business, and then the telemarketers are calling. You know what I'm saying? Employers are calling in sick. I mean, sometimes CSRs are glorified secretaries. I mean, it'd be frustrating to me. And see if you get 100 calls a day, if 50 of them are junk calls, you have to worry about staffing. You know what I'm saying? All those things are important. So if you can be able to take 20, 30, 40% of those calls to the right department to handle it, and then focus on the calls coming in that are bookable, where you're going to get your revenue. It's important to do that. I tell every company, start with implementing an IBR. All right. It'll change your life. It'll make your life a lot easier. But that's one of the main things I did. And like I said, ServiceTitan, full pros, all those things were all important. So I knew that you need to be able to track abandonment rate, track conversion rate. We need to be able to track all these different things. And there wasn't a software out there that did that. Right. And a lot of them were just like ServiceTitan came in there in the game like they were just on steroids, right? Because they just provide you all this data and all these things to help you run your business. And I truly believe to this day, I decided to go read everything I could about ServiceTitan, by the way, and I'm self-taught. I've never really been trained in anything with ServiceTitan, but I have a pretty high score, they call it in ServiceTitan, because I just got in there and
Oh, the Titan Advisor?
yes, yes,
The
and I just
Titan
got in there
score?
and I
Yeah.
just played with it. And that's how I learned everything. I just explored everything. I thought it was one of the most interesting CRMs that are out there. And then I got into the reporting. I'm an analytics guy, so I'm a big time into the reporting that to provide you, so you can actually track every agent, you can track every call, every tech to see what their revenue is. That stuff is so important. The technology that it gave you was just like so it was on steroids. And that's one of the biggest things I did was technology.
Oh my goodness. Now, while I am loving, you just loving on ServiceTitan, which I always say on this show whenever this happens, it really means a lot to me that I work for a company that has such an impact. So thank you for sharing that. I would love to learn a little bit more about how you got into training and tracking the progress of your CSRs, because prior to you coming on, there was really no reporting done, there was no coaching, none of that stuff. So tell me a little bit about how you implemented these systems to make your CSRs better at their job.
Yeah, working in the call center when you have 500 agents, you had to create a process, a procedure, all right? And one of the biggest things that I did was weekly one-on-ones with agents, all right? Playing the call for them, and tell them all things did great on that call. These are great things they did on this call. Tell them things that we could improve on, specifically looking at, hey, you may have lost this call to a price objective, why not try this? Giving them the tools needed to be successful at their job was one of the biggest things. And that came with weekly one-on-ones, playing back to calls, and then most importantly, incentivizing the agents on every call they book. You know how huge that was? Which I'm going to pay you, $2 per every call you book on a daily basis. That changed the game. Agents weren't used to that. When the company says I'm going to pay a CSR 14 bucks an hour and that's it, I don't care if it's a call or not. If it's on that CSR, that call that's on board, it doesn't matter if I book it at all. It doesn't mean anything. All right. I don't have to book it. I don't get paid any extra. When you start incentivizing them, guess what? They're in the game now. Now they actually want to book that call. When a customer says, I don't know if I want to pay the service fee, you have tools now that you can utilize to tell the customer, how to give objectives to get over that specific, rebuttal, whatever it may be, for that agent. Giving them the tools needed was one of the biggest things. And then, of course, incentivizing, like I said, on not only booking calls, but also on selling agreements. I implemented selling agreements. It was important for a company to scale. I was a big proponent of selling maintenance agreements. All right, that's how you get retention. You get first refusal from any customer. So I trained them how to sell agreements. We sold hundreds of agreements in that time span, and then attendance incentives. One of the worst things you could do in a call center is an agent not showing up. All right, so if you had 30 days of great attendance, I want to give you a check 30 days later for being there. It's so important because that's all killed. I have a philosophy, all right, when I'm in the call center world, it's something that I really, really believe that you should never leave any paying customer behind. Like the Army says, don't leave anyone behind. Customer wants to give you money, he's calling your company, you spend all this money on marketing, why not? Why not take care of that customer? Why not be available? A customer shouldn't have to wait on the phone to give you money for 3, 4, 5 minutes or something like that. It doesn't need to happen. So you cut out all that stuff, it helps build a better call center, in my opinion. And then, of course, from a dispatch perspective, implemented dispatching for profit, right check the right job was important, ongoing training, and I would incentivize dispatchers to get their call on the board. One of the biggest things that I've learned is a lot of contractors, they lose a lot of money between the hours of 4 to 6 p.m. That's the time when a dispatcher wants to go home. It's 4:30, 5 o'clock. They don't want to put another call on the board because they think, I want to go home. I don't want to have to schedule these guys at all. But if you incentivize a dispatcher to take that one call, schedule it and route it, and pay them for it, that's what happens. You start seeing huge gains and huge improvements. So things like that, little tweaks to the system, listening to dispatchers as they speak with the technicians, listen to agents. Live listening was one of the easiest things too. Giving them advice, whisper in their advice. Phones Pro has a feature where you can actually go as a listen to a call. You can tell them, "Hey, try this, say this." The customer can't hear you, but it's in their ear. So that stuff was so important that we saw a lot of gains from making those few adjustments when it comes with uh, um, the agents and incentivizing them.
Amazing. Okay, I just want you gave so much great information there.
Yes.
So the hours of 4 to 6 is when dispatchers have the most difficulty booking
Yeah.
calls. So
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
I guess you have the data to back
Yes,
that
I
up.
do. People are going to take the path of least resistance. All right, they want to go home and do it, but you have people are coming home with major issues. Customers are. You know what I'm saying? You come home, it's 5 o'clock. Your AC's not working. You have two kids you got to make dinner for. You know what I'm saying? You want to put someone on the phone right then and there. Dispatcher wants to get home too, right? So you incentivize them. Hey, let's take care of these customers. We're going to pay you for it. They're more likely to want to do that because they have skin in the game now. All right, and I know a lot of people don't believe in incentivizing. I'm a big fan of performance pay. We do it at our company right here. Because the way our operation works here is that we don't get paid unless we schedule for the call. That's the way it works. All right. If they don't book call, we don't get paid. And I applied that principle for many years and I think it works. Big fan of performance pay. It's something that I think more companies should
Ama
utilize.
Also for your CSRs, you are incentivizing them for attendance, which is really interesting. I haven't heard that before. You incentivize them when you book a call and when they sell a maintenance
Yeah.
agreement. So for anyone who's wondering, who's listening, can you give, and you might not have the answer to this, and if you don't, that's totally okay. What would a salary for a CSR who's not being incentivized look like versus a salary of a CSR who is being incentivized?
From an hourly perspective, which is the most common thing, depending on what part of the country you're in, roughly between $16 to $18 an hour. And that's it. There's no performance pay with that at all, roughly. And that's, comes out to about 32,000 dollars a year, roughly. If
Yeah.
you're incentivized, now they can make up to 22, $23 an hour, right? Which can go up to 50, 55, $60,000 a year, if not a little bit more, and then paying them a spiff for maintenance they plan. I had CSRs, and I'm not exaggerating, that made over $100,000 a year. All right. And most of that was selling plans to customers and things like that, because we needed those plans to help scale the company. But I had a CSR making $100,000
Yeah.
a year, that. And once we started doing the incentivization and the performance pay, guess what happened? We started selling thousands of maintenance. We started booking more calls. All these things changed. I wasn't there before. It changed the game. It really did.
Yeah. Yeah, and I could imagine you were saying, a lot of people aren't a fan of performance pay, you
Yes.
are, and the voice I'm hearing countering to you, what I would assume someone would say is, "I'm already paying them to be here, why do I gotta pay them more?" But the difference is really astounding. You're potentially changing the CSR's
Mhm.
life by putting them in a different income
Yes.
bracket, especially with the one who was pulling
Yeah.
6 figures, that you know of, but that's only a small fraction of the actual benefits that your
Oh,
business is getting.
absolutely. You're booking more calls. You have someone that wants to be there. There's nothing worse when you call a business at 5 o'clock and it's, no, we don't have anything available for you today. It's the worst thing ever. But if they're incentivized, wait, absolutely. We have an appointment for you today. We can get someone to today between 5 and 7, because they have skin in the game now, and then more importantly,
Yeah,
recognizing those CSRs at company meetings, the calls that they booked, the customer service they provided. Listen, there's three things that a CSR, and I actually learned this from your podcast. I forget which number it was, but a guy taught me this from your podcast. So there's three tenets that's important that a CSR understands that's their role. Okay. The most important thing is booking the call. Okay. That's one of the most important things. Make sure the call is booked through that with that customer. The second thing is the wow the customer. All right. What does wow the customer mean? Hey, I'm sorry you're having that problem. You definitely called the right place. We can definitely help you out with that, man. I got an appointment for today between 4 and 6. That's wowing the customer. Oh my God, they love you. That's great. And the third thing is uncovering opportunities within that call. All right. What does that mean? Hey, you know what? Actually, the service fee is $69 today. We build a membership plan that'll give you 10% discount. on your actual service today, and we can get you a priority appointment today, and it's only $19 a month. Employment opportunity, selling the maintenance plan. Those are the three things the CSR should do, correct? Most companies, they just want to move on one thing, it's just the call, all right? The other two things are important. Think about this. You're in a 20, $30 million business, right? You're that CSR is the front face of your company, the first person for new customers calling in, your salesman and marketing. You're the first person to talk to. Isn't it important that person has all the tools needed, to be able to wow that customer, talk to them? You're spending all this money on marketing, they're the first face of your company. You got to train them. You have to make the investment and paying them $14 an hour. It's just not going to work. All right. If you want an ROI on all those marketing dollars, people focus on marketing this. I need more calls, calls, calls. Sometimes you don't need to spend so much on marketing, but focus on making your call center better, make them more of a performance center, make sure that they're scheduling the calls, tracking them, training them, giving them all the tools necessary, and you'll see way better results, in my opinion.
Amazing, and thank you for the shout out. I can't remember who that
Yeah.
was either who talked about wowing the customers, but we're up to, like, almost 200 podcasts now,
Yes.
so I can't be don't my memory's
It
not
was
that
years
great.
ago. I know that. It was
Such
years ago. I
interesting
t- I took a lot of tips and tricks from that. And I thought that was the most brilliant thing, and it made sense. But it was years ago. I want to say it was 2019. I know that it was when I first started out.
Might have been 2020. We
Oh,
started
was it
April
2020?
2020, so it
Okay,
probably was one of,
2020
like, the
then.
first 10
Okay.
episodes, yeah. Amazing, amazing. All right, I love this. So let's talk about scaling
Yes.
actually. So and obviously wowing the customer, this is a big
Yes.
thing. How do you scale your CSR team to match the company's growth when you don't wanna sacrifice on customer experience?
I think one of the biggest things that a lot of companies don't use. Now, if you're a small company, a startup, you're not going to have a lot of these tools to you right now, but you can actually, there's software out there, there's workforce management software you can utilize to kind of help you schedule effective coverage between your CSRs and dispatchers, so you want to be able to capture calls during peak volume. And most importantly, you want to make sure that every customer is taken care of. Technology is the best way to do it. ServiceTitan, again, I keep going to ServiceTitan, they give you data. Like you can literally see your volume every single day in ServiceTitan. It'll tell you what times are your peak times, what times are your slow times. And using technology and workforce management software helps you really schedule your CSRs and your technicians as well, too. It gives you an idea how many technicians you need to run the company as well. And then one of the most important thing, and I stress this, all right, not just because I'm in this specific space, right, is having a backup call center, all right, to be able to back you up. Okay. A lot of companies, for me, I love training and ongoing training with CSRs and everything. All right. So every week, one-on-ones or trainings, I don't have to pull them off the phone. All right. Who's backing me up? These customers are not being taken care of now, right? But if you partner with answering service that can actually kind of take over where you are lacking, or even if someone calls in sick, that thing, you're right, or someone attendance is not there, they're supposed to be there at 7, they show up at 7:30. You need someone to back up those calls because that's revenue. Those are customers that need your help. You know, Partnering with a great answering service that can kind of step in where you can't, where you need backup at certain times of the day because you're getting intervals. Say your volume increases at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. All your three CSRs are on the phones taking calls. Those customers shouldn't have to wait. If you partner with an actual company that can help you pick up those calls, take care of the customer, it's the best thing you can do to help sale because you're not losing anything. So many companies don't understand what abandonment rate is. All right. Abandonment rate is basically calls that you're abandoning that you don't know whether you're being abandoned. All right. Listen, an average customer in the summertime, they're going to give you maybe a minute, on hold, a minute and a half. They're not really loyal. They're going to call someone else, right? The competitor's going to get that, all right? If he has a better understanding of workforce management and can take those calls, or if he has a backup, all right? And you don't see those abandoned calls. ServiceTitan allows you to see, hey, listen, you're a call coming in while all your CSRs are on the phone. It's important to capture every call. And that's what we try to focus on here at CallPoint. Listen, we'll be your backup overflow, we'll do nights, we'll do weekends. We want to partner with you just to make sure that your calls are being answered. All right. That's the biggest thing. Don't let those calls sit to a voicemail. For people that still go use voicemail or they say we'll call you back, or even use an answering service that actually sends you the information you have to call that customer back, you're losing customers. CallPoint, we actually book directly into ServiceTitan. We've been a ServiceTitan partner for the last 5 years. We can actually overflow to us, take that call for you as if it's your CSR, book it for you, and it'll show up on your dispatch board and ServiceTitan. Can you imagine that? And all you have to do is make sure that call is routed. Take care of that customer. All right. So it's an even flow. You have to have a backup because you don't know what you don't know when it comes to losing customers. All right. Because they're going to leave after a minute or two. I'm not going to win. If I'm having an issue, right, and my air conditioning's not working, I'm going to give you a minute and a half, and I'm going to call the next guy or the next guy or the next guy. And unfortunately, that's how it works.
Yeah, I totally get that. So, okay, going on the subject of CallPoint, obviously you guys are a
Yes.
ServiceTitan partner. You do work with a lot of our customers to handle their
Uh-huh.
overflow. I would love to know what tips you have for contractors who want to work with someone like CallPoint. What should they do to have that successful partnership?
One of the biggest things is understand what you don't know. Okay. I've been in this space since 2012. I've learned a lot. And it's important to understand, hey, wait a second, there's a lot of stuff involved in call centers. And sometimes you want to deal with it. What's your focus? All right. Do you want to focus on getting your checks better? You want to focus on getting your marketing better? Or do you want to focus on getting your call center? Whatever it may be. It's important for you to understand that you don't know everything. But there's companies out there like my company that can help you understand those things, what it means, like conversion rate. Are your CSRs converting? All those things, it's important for them to understand what I call the analytics and the numbers behind your business or their company. All right. And that's basically how you become that. To be a successful partner with us, we have to be in alignment, is what I say, to make sure that we're your goals are our goals now, and then make sure we can work together in harmony, and you get an ROI on your investment, because you want to make sure your customers taken care of. We want to make sure that your business is growing and scaling. So it's got to be a reciprocal relationship. That's the biggest thing for both sides. And we're going to need your help. Give us some feedback. Give us criticism. All those things are important.
Amazing. Okay, very cool. So, I would love to know, given your professional
Mhm.
experience, what are some common signs that a call center isn't performing
The
well?
easiest, I'd say the easiest one is really high turnover. If you
Sure.
can't
Yeah,
keep
makes
people
sense.
in your call center, that's really a good telltale sign. I had a client yesterday. He was telling me, "Oh, we answer all our calls." And I said, "Well, how many CSRs do you have?" And he said, "Well, we have two CSRs." I'm like, "Okay," but he said, "No, we actually have seven." I'm like, "Is it two or is it seven?" He goes, "Well, the accounting person answers the call, the person answers the call, the marketing answers the call." I'm like, "So you have untrained people, right, that are answering your calls that fully do their regular job and they answer calls. Well, yeah, it's our backup that we have right now." I said, "Are those people happy doing that?" He goes, "They absolutely hate it. They actually hate it." All right. I said, "You're risking, unhappy employees because you're giving them a job that they don't want to do. You have them do it." I said, it's crazy, when you have a call center where everyone in the office, everyone, a company, everyone in the office is answering phone calls, that's a telltale sign that you've got major problems. All right. Because that purchasing person doesn't want to answer the call. All right. Then they said, "Well, how's that going?" He said, "Well, they hate it. They don't really book it the way I want them to book. They don't talk to the customers the way I want." Of course they don't. They're not trained. Can you imagine that? And it was just shocking. That's one of the telltale signs you can tell they need help. And he actually eventually acquiesced and he signed on board with us, which was great. And then of course, when they're not incentivizing their people. That's another great common sign that a call centers are performing well, and they don't understand the abandonment rate, conversion rate, and when your customers are on hold for long periods of time. That's usually you can tell they're not performing well. Those are the telltale things. And they usually, people will be honest, though, they'll tell you, "Hey, my customers are on hold for 3, 4, 5 minutes." So I'm like, you're losing a lot of money. I feel with contractors, they focus
Yeah.
on getting calls, getting marketing, Google LSL, getting these marketing companies, paying thousands of dollars to these marketing companies to bring calls to them, but yet they're not really doing a great job in capturing those calls, right? And it's just a waste. And I'm just shocked at that, because there's these great marketing companies out there, and they do their job. They put calls on the board. But you got to capture those calls. You got to make sure they're being converted. You got to make sure that they're not being lost by your purchasing agent or by your accounting person because they don't really care. All right. You got to make sure CSRs are trained. Those are the biggest things I can tell, and not understanding the metrics, the analytics behind it all, not understanding your company. That's how you can tell a call center is performing well, to answer your question.
Got it. Okay, I actually have another question for you that I thought of as you were giving some
Yes.
wonderful answers. There's a lot of new technology coming into the space with call centers, especially with AI, and I'm curious if you have anything that you're excited about or you're, like, kind of really eager to try out yourself or maybe stuff
Yeah,
you've already
so
tried.
I was at the ServiceTitan convention, in Orlando last year when they were really, yeah, they were
Pantheon, yep.
really doing a big push on AI, and I saw a lot of really interesting stuff. My opinion of it, it's not quite there yet, all right? But it's scary. It's the future. There's no question about it. There is a segment of the population that still likes to talk with a live person, so the AI answering stuff, I'm not quite sold on it yet. All right. I live in Arizona. We have a lot of retirees here, a lot of retirees. They still like to talk to someone on the phone. Now, AI, when it comes to like scheduling assistant, like in the evening and things like that, that's great because emergency stuff. But during the day, as far as using AI to answer call, I'm not a fan of it yet. All right. But I think in the next year or two, it's going to change the game. I really do. I do like a lot of the TI stuff, the Titan Intelligence they call that's out there. Dispatching Pro, Marketing Pro, all the stuff they're doing with AI. I think it's the future, and we're looking into it ourselves because we understand that we gotta evolve or grow, right? But I think they're getting closer and closer. From the previous year to where they're at right now, oh man, things have it's changed a lot. So I'm excited. I'm excited for what the future holds for AI, especially for in my business in my space, and for contractors in the future. I think it's going to be a game changer.
Amazing. All right. Well, I you've been so generous with your time. I do want to ask because when you and I first spoke, you spoke so highly about Matt George, who's the founder of CallPoint, and he was a big mentor in your career. I would love, that kind of topic comes up so much on our show, and I would love to know what you think makes a good
Yes,
mentor-mentee relationship.
I love answering this question. All right, so listen, I'm a minority. All right, I worked for a big corporation where I felt like I was just a number. All right, I didn't really have truly anyone that was trying to mentor me or teach me things. All right, when I met Matt, when he had this vision, I mean, we would have one-on-one conversations for hours about call center space, and the biggest things I've learned, and the reason why I think that the relationship works so well, having a mentor and a mentor relationship is so important, is that alignment, and the visibility it gives you to really look at things different. So I started doing things differently because I was seeing things differently because of my mentor. All right, he gave me a vision that I never knew create, and he mapped it out how to get there. Hey, look, you should do consulting. All right, how do you give you your first client? There you go. How do you open an LLC? My analytics consulting business, I had an LLC. All of those things I never thought was possible. All right. So I'm a big fan of getting a mentor. People don't really appreciate it, especially for me as a minority in this space. A mentor really opened my eyes, all right? And it gave me so much confidence. The alignment that him and I had on the vision, and more importantly, he was very critical on me. Hey, instead of doing this, you should try that. And I had to be open to that criticism, which I wasn't used to. I want to be criticized. But in order to have a successful, a relationship with your mentor, you have to be honest. You have to take the criticism. You know what I'm saying? Some of the most defining moments of my life I got from my mentor. All right. And that relationship is so important. And until this day, I love working with him. I work with him every day. He's one of the smartest guys I know. And it's just because we understand each other, we have a vision for each other, and we can talk about things openly. I'm on a leadership team. We're senior leaders of the company, and we can just spit out different things. And I don't know about that. That relationship is so important. Being honest, being transparent with each other. You know, and then understanding that, hey, we both are aligned. I always talk about alignment. Alignment is the biggest thing for you to get the mentor. Because listen, if you have a mentor that's in a way different, sphere, different, space that you want to get into, that's not a good relationship. All right. We're both have an interest in what we do, and we love to riff off each other, if I could use a major term, on the things we can do to help improve our call center. And we both want to get better and better every day. And that's the mentor relationship. All right. I've been trying to get to his level for years, and I think I'm getting pretty close to where he's at. It's because of him. My life has been literally transformed because of him. And since when I got into the trades, I just never had that from corporate America, and that's why he's changed. And that's why I decided to come back.
Amazing.
When the previous company I worked for, when we scaled it, they got bought out by private equity. I said, Matt, he had the company, he started another company, CallPoint. I said, you know what? It's time for us to get back to the game together, buddy. Right. And I've loved it ever since. We go to trade shows together. We just spent a week driving. We were on the road all last week. We drove from Sarasota to Tampa to Orlando all last week to different trade shows, in the car together. We just talk about all different things. That's my mentor. He's a great guy. And he's changed my life. He's literally changed my life. So I can't talk more about what he's done for me and what
Incredible.
he's taught me.
I
Thank
love
you.
that. I love stories
You're
like
very
that.
welcome.
Thank you so much for sharing. So, I know you're a fan of Toolbox for the Trades.
Yes.
Again, thank you so much for listening. I would love to know, we used to ask this question, if you had to pick a song to be the soundtrack of your life, what would it be? I've since switched it to what are some things that you're listening to, that you're watching or reading right now? Like what media are
Yeah.
you consuming that you're really
So
into?
I like to answer both of those if you don't mind. So I'm a big podcast person. I read a lot of biographies. There's a guy named Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett, big investment guys. They always said it's important for you to become friends with the eminent dead, biographies of guys that have done it before. My thing that interests me is the journey of any entrepreneur or business guy, like how he got there. Right? I don't care about the end result, the journey. And this there's a podcast called Founders where it's about biographies with people from from Napoleon, to John Paul Getty, to different business guys. That journey is intriguing to me how they got there, and that's what I love their origin story. All right, so I'm big on biographies, business books, of course. That's one of my things that I love doing. Understanding business guys, billionaires, and history's great entrepreneurs. Founders podcast is one of the best ones, and of course, like I said, I listen to your podcast on a weekly basis, which is also good. I'm a big music guy. You probably saw I did a couple of music reference. Right now, I gotta say, there's this new guy called Shabuzi that I'm jamming into. Have you heard of him?
I
Song.
haven't actually. Who would
He's
you
like
equate him to?
he's a country he's a country rock star is the best way to describe him. I've been jamming to his CD or not CD, his streaming his songs for the last couple of weeks. Called Shabuzi, and he jams out. You've heard the song before, but you probably didn't know it was him.
Oh, and I'm just looking, he was on Cowboy
Yes,
Carter, he
yeah,
was on
he has a
Beyonce's
song
Cowboy
called "The Bar
Carter. Oh,
Song,"
wow.
and he
Okay,
does a lot
cool.
of acoustic guitar and everything. Great song. Yeah, song. Big music guy, music podcasts. These are things that gets me going. That's what I'm consuming right now. So
Amazing. Well, Ralph Johnson, thank you so much for being a guest on Toolbox for the Trades. I loved listening to everything you had to share. I know our listeners did too. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
thank you, Jackie. It was my pleasure. I enjoyed it. It was really fun.